Hey there, Groovesters and Groove Stars. Ridgely here with another exciting Groove Growth program with my very, very dear friend and mentor, Heather Pearce Campbell, who, by the way, is the legal warrior. And I'm telling you, you want to pay very, very close attention to what is happening on this particular Groove Growth program, because Heather's going to share some things that you need that I bet many of you don't even ever think about. Okay, just say it. So, Heather, tell us a little bit about your background first before we get started, and then we'll just dive in because I know so many Groovesters need what you do and to really solidify and protect themselves. So, but give us your background first. Tell us a little bit about Heather.
Totally. So I joke, I am a legal warrior and I'm a warrior mama, right? So I'm a mom of two little people. They're my wild munchkins. They keep life very full. Based here in Seattle, Washington. I'm a nature lover. I'm a podcast host like you. I love connecting with people and other brilliant minds in the entrepreneurial space. And then I'm an attorney and legal coach for world-changing entrepreneurs. And so I've been practicing law now for over 20 years. And about halfway through that time period, I really started.
You still be 28.
Right. I ask myself this daily. I know.
I mean, look 28.
I joke with people, it's the extra weight I carry around just keeps me looking youthful. So there you have it. No, the funny thing is I got lots of comments at the start of my career that made it really challenging, right? People being like, are you 14? How are you practicing law? So I can joke about it now because I've got some years under my belt. But what I was saying is midway through that time period, my career, I really thought, there's a different way that I can be doing this. And specifically in regards to a segment of the marketplace that I love, which are entrepreneurs, information entrepreneurs. And these are folks and businesses. Many of them are micro businesses, right? Small and micro businesses that are just not well served by the traditional legal marketplace. They just aren't. Mm-hmm. And so, when you look at the statistics, they're pretty bleak. Something like 90% of small businesses do not get their legal needs met. And yet, this marketplace, from a numbers perspective, guess what percentage of the US business market is made up of small businesses?
Huge, like half.
Oh, right? No, 99.9% of the business marketplace is small businesses.
I did not know that. I did not know that at all.
Right.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. From a numbers perspective, we are the marketplace. And yet, and even when you look at GDP, because certainly the big businesses have a lot of influence, right? You think about the lobbyists in Congress, and like you hear all about the big businesses in the news, right? Especially when it comes to data breaches and all of these things that are timely issues. But we still collectively, as small businesses and small business owners, make up between 42 to 43% of annual GDP. We're a massive piece of the marketplace. And so the reason I share those statistics is to remind people, because what I often find is that especially in regards to legal, small business owners and entrepreneurs tend to minimize. Oh, I'm not big enough to really have to worry about that. Or, I'm not making the kind of numbers I want to yet, so I'm not really going to look over there in the legal box, right? And I just don't want people to be fooling themselves, because they are the marketplace, and small businesses have the same legal needs that big businesses do. They just need the support on a different scale and delivered in a different way.
Yeah, and I think that really important for everybody in Groove to know this, because all Groovesters around the world, and we're a global organization, we all, even though we're going to focus primarily on mostly North American kind of laws, but the principles apply everywhere. You've got to protect your business. Why in the world are you trying to build something huge and amazing if you're not taking care of it and doing the things that you need to do to ensure that it is protected? And oh, by the way, if you follow the Groove programs well and learn what you need to know in Groove, there's a chance that your business could scale very, very fast. It happens all the time. This whole idea, Heather, of the overnight success. Well, it hardly ever is an overnight success, but it looks like it because people are taking a long time to figure out their product. They take a long time to figure out how to market the product. They take a while to get the offer, and then they get it right, and the business goes stratospheric, seemingly overnight. It's hardly ever an overnight success story, but the jump from tiny little barely making it to 6 figures a month happens in a microsecond. And a 6-figure a month business is $1 million plus business per year. And that needs to be protected.
That's right. And I'm very often working with those businesses that, like you are explaining, they've tested proof of concept, they've been around long enough, and suddenly they're in that phase where they are quickly scaling and they're realizing we don't have a legal foundation. We've got gaps. Like we've never had a thorough assessment of our IP, our business contracts, our formation strategy, right? All of these things. And so they're caught in a phase of growth where then I'm also helping them play a bit of catch up around preparing and solidifying that legal foundation so that they can continue to grow, right?
Now, so for all the people that right about this moment in the conversation are like, oh no, I am so in that boat. I am one of those people. I absolutely haven't done squadoosh, never mind a little bit. I've done zippity doo-dah, except sign up, start a program, get a website, start doing whatever. How can we help them gain at least a little bit of an understanding? Where does somebody start? I mean, Groovesters, this is so important. And it's so easy to blow off and ignore. So what can we do, Heather, to encourage people and teach them a little bit here in this little bit of time we have together?
Totally. Well, I love that. And the first thing I want to say is don't be intimidated by it, right? So sometimes it's just about clearing the mental blocks you might have about, like, for some of us, it's going to the dentist, right? Or going into an auto mechanic thinking we're going to get ripped off. And others are like, legal is the very last thing on my list. I don't want to deal with it. Get over the mental blocks, because what I tell people, and especially if you're in the space of entrepreneurs that I serve, experts, consultants, coaches, online educators, sometimes software, software as a service, SaaS providers, but it's a whole group of individuals that are largely experts at what they're doing, and they've built a business around that expertise, etc. Is one, you've got real legal needs, and just like you've sorted out all the other things to help build out your business, right? Most of us, when we started, we had an idea about something that we thought we could do well, but we maybe didn't understand the full extent of what else we had to learn on the journey, right? Sales, marketing, business information, right? Technology systems, etc. All of these things that you've either figured out or gotten help with. Legal's just one more, we'll just call it pit stop on that road to building a successful business. And it's really not that challenging if you've got the map. So what I like to do is really start by empowering people to give them the map, the framework that they should be looking at so that they know where their legal needs fit when it comes to their business. Because what I find is a lot of people it's a little bit like wandering around in the dark. I think I need this. They're cherry picking their legal needs, but they've really never had somebody sit down and say, here's the map to your business, and here's what it means when it comes to legal stuff, right? So we can quickly walk through the framework, and I can just give people the map. And that way, on the other side of this, what I want for people is them to feel a lot more confident in going and starting to select some of the legal services that are going to be a fit for their needs, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, let's do this, and I want to just give everybody a couple words to hang on to as we go through this. The name of Heather's program is Protect Your Assets. Okay, so if you're spending so much time and effort and resources and money to build these assets, you have to protect your assets. And that means protect your assets, whether you're a coach, whether you have proprietary information, whether you're selling a product, whether you're selling a service, whether you're selling, it doesn't matter. You got to protect your assets. And that's the name of of your program, Heather. And so walk us through, what are the fundamentals? What are the basics? I'd love to be able to remove people's blocks, remove their fears, their hesitation, yet at the same time stress that this is super important.
Well, and I appreciate that. And Ridgely, I know you're one of my fellow legal peers, right? And so,
Yes,
well,
I am
you
a
may
lawyer
not be
also.
exactly. Well, you're not practicing law, you're preaching to the choir. And the thing about law that a lot of people don't understand is, I joke with people that, like, what I do is in the legal services category, but what I really deliver is better business leadership. Because you cannot make a decision in your business that doesn't overlap with law, right? And to be able to lead your business well, and not only protect your assets, that's a huge part of it, right? And it is the title of my standard presentation, but it's also about paving the way to support that more rapid scaling. It's a little bit like running around a racetrack and having to jump over a bunch of hurdles versus clearing those hurdles out of the way in advance. Right? You're going to run faster. You're going to get to the finish line way faster and with less injury.
Which is nice.
Which is nice, which we all want. So see legal both as a leadership tool for your business, but also something that actually supports your scaling, supports your growth, right?
Awesome. Where do we start?
So bucket number one is business entity, right? Forming a proper business structure to house your business in. And the reason I start there, because some people are going like, well, it seems like everybody should have that. No, they don't. In the United States, 60% of small businesses are sole proprietors. And as a sole proprietor, this means that while you might have filed a DBA or even for a business license, you haven't actually set up an LLC, a C corporation, right? Some version of that. Maybe you've made an S corp election, which is just a tax status election. If you don't set up a proper business entity, you and your business, and this means you, your personal life, your personal assets, and your business all live in the same pot. You don't want that. From the perspective of liability, the IRS can reach in there. If you get a judgment in court against you, right, there's no delineation between your business and your personal assets. So if you own a home, you've got any money in your bank accounts, you have any assets in your life, or if you're in a community property state and you have a spouse or a partner in your life, their assets are at risk. This is what a lot of people don't realize, is they could actually be putting their spouse's 401k at risk, right? Who wants to do that? Not many people that I know of. Yeah. So it's really, really important that you not skip the proper business formation and take a look at whether an LLC is the right model for you, right? It's a very flexible model. It works really well for a lot of coaches and consultants and expert type of businesses. But maybe you're on a different track and a C corporation is a better fit, right? Or some other entity, depending on where you're based, either state jurisdiction or internationally, you might have some other entity that's a better fit, but don't skip that step and don't be caught in the position of thinking I'm too small to really incorporate. No, you're not. You're never too small to incorporate. And the shift in mindset is tremendous. It's the difference between like, oh, dipping my toe in the water, I think I can make a go of this, versus like putting my stake in the ground, like this is it, I'm really going to build this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so important to have that mindset of belief, because at the end of the day, that's the thing that keeps you going when things do get a little rough or interesting or unique, or there's a pandemic or a war or something crazy in this world that changes the landscape completely out of your control. You better have some belief to carry you through.
That's right. And the other thing that having a proper entity does, which you know originally, gives you tax advantages, right? There is a phrase that, individuals get taxed, businesses get wealthy. And it really is the difference between getting the opportunity to take advantage of certain benefits that our tax code provides to businesses versus not having access to those benefits. So, so that's bucket number one, right? Forming a proper business entity for your business. Bucket number two is a big one. This is where I spend a lot of time with my clients and people doing a wide variety of work in their business. It's business contracts.
Mhm.
So you think about anything that you do in your business that is an exchange of value, it should have a business contract in place. Okay, what is an exchange of value? You're publishing information on the internet, right? Via your website. You're setting yourself up as an expert in your industry or your space. Free information doesn't mean free of liability, right? You need terms in place around that exchange. What are your ground rules for somebody visiting your website? If you're collecting their information, right, you should have a privacy policy. If you're making sales, you need legal documentation in place to cover that transaction. What's the refund policy? What happens to your intellectual property? What rights are they given when they go through your course or your services, right? So online stuff, exchange of value. Your primary client services, exchange of value. Where's your core documentation that covers that exchange, right? Think about all the ways that you can, we were just talking about this before going live, all the fun ways that you can grow your business through affiliate relationships or joint ventures or hiring independent contractors, right? All of these are an exchange of value. You need a legal document in place, a business contract that covers that particular exchange, right?
Mm.
Because of what's on the line.
Yeah, for sure. So important. And um, what I find is that there's too much reliance on, oh, that provider is taking care of that. Oh, that's be happening over here. So at my shop, for example, we have a couple of wizard testers. And I remember the last launch that I did, somehow on one of the order form pages, the terms and conditions at the bottom went to an error page, 404.
Mhm.
So suddenly every order that was processed was not subject to those terms and conditions. But whoa, excuse me, people, we need to get this fixed over here, because otherwise you really are. I love what you just said. Just because you're giving something for free as a lead magnet or whatever does not mean that you're free from liability. I love that. That's great.
Yeah, well, it's true. And it catches people by surprise, right? So it's, and the case for any of us, if we're experts in our space, is that we are giving advice and information that we hope people will rely on. But we're hoping that they're going to rely on it in a very specific way. Ultimately, we don't get to decide what they actually do with our information, whether they go make some terrible choice or whether they take it and use it inside of their own business, right? Which is why legal protection and legal terms just become really important. But that business contracts, if you think of your foundation, right? We're talking about the business entity, literally picture a foundation to a home, to whatever, big platform, right? Your business, and the way that I think about businesses that I serve, is like a machine, like a piece of equipment sitting on top of that foundation, moving parts, nuts and bolts and gears, like all of the ways that we serve our clients, distribute information in the world, hire people to help build our business. Like we have these mini machines, right? Business contracts protect the daily, goings on in your business, the daily exchanges in your business. And they really are essential. Like even what you're talking about, the terms disappearing off of a landing page or a purchase site. It's problematic because you have just now, from a legal perspective, you're no longer achieving what is called constructive notice. And you have to have constructive notice when it comes to legal terms, right? What is the deal? What is the bargain that we're making? What are the terms that apply? You cannot retroactively say, oh, by the way, here's the terms. That's a bait and switch, right? So that's why there has to be proper disclosures. It has to happen at the right time. Like there's a whole technical side to doing this right, outside of just getting the legal stuff right. So super important. But once you know, you're no longer playing this guessing game of like, am I doing it right? Am I not? And your business becomes a much safer place for you to spend time.
It's interesting because I just had an analogy flash into my mind as you were sharing that information, Heather. It was very valuable, which is we spend so much time paying attention to certain important details like email deliverability, making sure that my emails actually get from my inbox to their inbox. Why? So that a transaction can occur. So I'm going to focus really hard on this piece, getting the marketing piece done, but then I'm going to ignore the terms of the transaction that I'm trying to do in the first place. That kind of makes no sense. That is like craziness. And yet it happens all the time in online marketing. And what I'm saying to all the Groove community is, don't be that person. We got to pay attention to the details to protect your assets and to make sure that everybody knows what the deal is. Even if it doesn't ever come up, which is most likely going to be the case, you can't leave that to chance.
No, you can't leave it to chance. And even if it's not something catastrophic that happens, for anybody that's listening, I just want to ask you, have you ever had a client scenario go sideways, right? Have you ever had a problem person inside a group, or a client that you've had to fire, or a client that stopped paying, or somebody who was a client, took your IP, and then you've got some other problems to deal with, right? I've had so many clients over the years show up at my doorstep because of something like this in their business, where if they had just had a simple document in place or terms of purchase, they literally could have avoided like 95% of the headache, the heartache, and the financial stuff that comes following an event like that. And I've had clients that have tussled with their own problematic clients for months before they even reached out to get my help, right? Lost sleep, drained their energy. Like, seriously, if you've ever had a problem like this in your business life, it does zap your energy and your ability to show up 100% in your business. So the other analogy I make is, it's a little bit like, shining the outside of the car and doing everything right when it comes to marketing and your website and getting people in the door, but then not having an engine there, right? Somebody suddenly is issuing a chargeback request or causing a problem for you. That engine is really quickly coming to a halt if you don't have the right parts and pieces in place, right? And especially when you start to talk about some of the financial impacts that can happen from some bigger problematic scenarios, right? Copyright infringement or intellectual property issues if you are not understanding what you're doing in the marketplace. Litigation, heaven forbid, right? But there's other things that can go wrong where if you don't have the engine, you're not driving very far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll never forget. Early in my career, despite being a lawyer, somehow something got overlooked. But it was with a very big company in New York City. And we knew they were giving up a name that we wanted to use for a magazine that I had. I've published several magazines in the past. And we knew they weren't going to use it. We absolutely knew. So it would have been as simple as, hey, are you guys going to use that name? No. Great. Can I buy it from you for $1,000? But since we knew they had abandoned the project, nobody bothered. We put out a magazine, spent $150,000 to print it all, have it ready for distribution, et cetera, and all of a sudden we had a lawsuit. Because we didn't take the step to make that correction, to send the legal documentation, get the name. I had to fly to New York. I had to testify in court, the book of legal documents this thick and back and forth conversations and phone logs. It was a disaster because of overlooking one simple detail. And what Heather's talking about are basic fundamentals, right? I mean, this is not complex stuff. So far, all we've talked about is the business entity. You got to get one, and you got to have your contracts in place. That's it. I imagine there's a few more buckets.
There are, but even if you just handled those two, right? Even if you stopped right now, you'd be like 80% of the way there. It's really true. Like, that is a massive piece of handling the legal needs for your business. It's not all of it, right? Depending on your growth trajectory, depending on other things, you might have some IP issues. Like, we'll touch on the other buckets, but I really spend a lot of time like making sure we've handled things in bucket number one, and then really getting businesses solidified in bucket number two. Based on what they're doing, right? All my clients usually have a variety of services that they offer, right? And they deliver those in a variety of ways, whether it's virtual, whether it's live events, combination, whether it's short-term events like workshops or long-term, relationships, like a year-long mastermind or coaching or whatever else they're doing, they're often speaking, they're often publishing actual books or self-publishing, right? Or using their website as a publishing platform. There's all these ways, right? Podcasting, like look at the amount of information that gets pushed out into the world through podcasting, including a ton of proprietary IP, right? So depending on what else they're doing, they may have some other needs, but those first two buckets go a long way to protecting things right out the gate. The third bucket, which, and I'm not an insurance salesperson. I don't live in the insurance world, but I get lots of questions about it. So I made it a bucket. Business insurance. Go back to the visual of the platform as your foundation, your machinery, which is your business sitting on top of that foundation, right? And you've protected those with your business entity and then your contracts. Business insurance is like a layer of padding. Just think of some cozy, squishy padding around the whole thing, right? It is peace of mind. It's going to help you protect against very specific risks. So for example, maybe you're running a live event, like that's in person, right? I think Brendan Bouchard tells a story about how he didn't have himself set up the right way legally starting out and had some volunteers, didn't have them sign any waivers or disclosures or agreements of any kind, and got sued after one of his first live events and had to declare personal bankruptcy. Right? Live events are one of the things that have a very specific kind of risk associated with them. And so having event coverage is really essential for people that do a lot of live events. If you have a home office, if you have a space in your business related to seeing people, right? These are all different kinds of risks and risk levels that we bring into our life. You've got to probably have something in place for that in the insurance bucket. And there's really no other way to protect against those kinds of risks, right? If you drive in your business, if you have employees that do any driving, right? So business insurance, I think there's something like 13 different kinds of small business insurance policies that you can choose from depending on what you're doing. But just like with homeowners insurance, right? They want to get to know your business. Do you have a dangerous dog? Do you have a trampoline? Do you have a swimming pool, right? They're going to find out on the business side of that what your big risks are and hopefully match you with a product that's a great fit for you. So my recommendation is everybody needs an insurance person that they have a long-term relationship with, whether it's insurance broker. I generally recommend starting with a broker because you want somebody who looks at the whole marketplace and can match you to a product that's a really good fit for your business, right? And then revisit that. None of these buckets, by the way, are set it and forget it. You revisit these over time because as your business grows, as your insurance needs change, you can't just rely on the same old stuff you had in place last year if you're doing different things this year.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. I know, by the way, that applies to everything we do in online marketing. Oh, I'm going to use antiquated technology now to try to keep up with the big dogs. I don't think so. You're not. And you're going to be left in the dust because things change so fast in the online world.
Right.
Well, it's no different with your legal needs. As your business grows, you got to take another look at that and see, am I even in the ballpark with what I need right now or not? What does that look like? For sure.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and that's it. I mean, you nailed it. Like sales, marketing, nothing is set it and forget it. Like welcome to entrepreneurship. It's a journey. And I tell people you have to be able to do a rolling risk assessment, right? Launching a new product, you probably have a new legal need. Bringing in a new employee or independent contractor in your business, there's a new exchange of value. You've got a legal need associated with that. So being able to do that rolling risk assessment really helps you when it comes to assessing your legal needs as you grow, right? So that's bucket number 3. Bucket number 4 is IP, having an intellectual property protection plan. Right. And I tell people, just like your example that you gave about, choosing that phrase and then having, unfortunately, to litigate over it, even though this company wasn't really using it. I recently had a client who is Canadian based, but 80% of his clientele are in the States. Right. And this is a large percentage of my international folks. This is why they find me, is because their market is largely a US market. But they're reaching in to the United States, which means they are subject to our legal rules and our laws and our IP regulations and the IP rights of other people that are already here in the marketplace. So what this client didn't know was that like a phrase, kind of tagline that he was using in his business already had been in use here for some time. So he ended up having to defend against a legal action, right? We ended up buying both marks from the company so that he could continue to do business here. But it took some finagling, and it wasn't a fun experience for him learning that he was subject to legal regulations that he didn't know anything about, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and realistically, let's just cut to the chase. The United States market is the largest market in the world for online marketing and online services. So don't kid yourself. If you're global, which most of Groovesters are, we have a global platform. We are able to take money from all over the world. Then the US is going to be a big market. So you better make sure that you are paying attention to US laws if you're taking any money out of the US.
That's right. That's right. You're reaching into the marketplace. You better know what's up, because, and I could run through a whole separate presentation around statistics on small businesses, and I might touch on those at the end, but you have to know the rules of the marketplace. It's as simple as that, which is also why for US based businesses or non-US based businesses, international privacy regulations are a thing, and you got to know about them regardless of your business size, right? So it's one of the things I help people with. But back to the IP protection plan bucket, just like you have explained, it's never too early in your entrepreneurial journey to understand your IP and take steps to protect it, right? And in certain circumstances, it's just proactive work. You're getting ready to label a course or program or your business or a tagline, right? You better research, is that being used? Is it being used by another company? Does somebody already have they laid claim to that, right? There's a bit of groundwork that can go into really sorting that out, but plenty of people are stopped right out of the gate because they just choose the wrong language to use. And then they get a cease and desist or litigation or something else happens and they're halted.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. 100%.
So in the IP protection plan bucket, usually what I'm supporting people with are trademarks and copyrights. So I'll give people the quick rundown on those things. The third element that we use to help protect IP is contracts, right? So there's a little bit of overlap with bucket number 2. I tell people contracts are the gatekeepers to your services, right? So contracts are the place I would start if you don't have anything else in place. But ultimately, if you're a business that is, really set on scaling, you need to be doing a full IP assessment and getting help with your IP strategy, which should include trademarks and copyrights. And the difference between those things, right? I get a lot of questions around these items, but if you think of your business or brand like a mountain, what's visible, right? What's visible from the marketplace is the top of the mountain, the snow-capped peaks. That's what you can protect with trademarks, right? So trademarks protect your business name, a brand name, your logo, right? A visual logo, a tagline. So that's a short phrase, right? There are other short phrases, but that's what you protect with a trademark. So as an example, think of Nike, right? The Nike logo is going to be protected by trademark, the Nike brand name protected by trademark, and the tagline, just do it, right? All protected by trademark. So you got to be looking at your intellectual property assets in your business, whether it's your brand name, your logo, signature course or program or service names, right? That kind of thing. And decide, what would you feel terrible about if somebody else took that from you? And to the next step, took it from you and then excluded you from using it, right? Which happens if somebody else gets the registration.
Yeah.
Right.
Amazing.
So if you're going like, oh, that just made me cringe a little bit, believe it or not, you're probably ready for a trademark in your business, right?
Yeah.
The rest of the mountain, go back to the mountain analogy, right? So trademarks protect the top of the mountain, those snow-capped peaks, the body of the mountain. The rest of the mountain is what you protect with copyright. This is the body of your work. Your workbooks, your tutorials, your video tutorials, maybe your podcast, maybe you've got a rockin' newsletter, right? All of the ways that you put your ideas down into tangible form and express those into the marketplace, right? So that's what you protect with copyright. And so between those two strategies, that really protects the bulk of what, my clients and my people create inside of their businesses.
Nice. Makes
from an
total
IP standpoint. Yeah.
Yeah. And no, that's interesting because I can think, we just launched a brand new program, and have we taken those steps yet? And the answer is no. So Ridgely, here we go. Here you go, Groovesters. Hear this. That would be Ridgely slapping himself. Okay. Because we need to get some work done over here on this bucket number 4. Thank you very much.
Right. You're welcome. I know it's a good bucket. And the reality about this bucket is like, yeah, you do a bit of investment inside this bucket, though for most people, it's not as outrageous as you think it's going to be. That's the irony.
Mhm.
And it sets you up for long-term success in your business. You want to have a business and business assets that are sellable, right? That have brand recognition. You better be looking in this bucket.
Yep. Totally get it. Okay.
All right. So bucket number 5, I joke, everybody's running towards this bucket. It is dispute resolution strategy. You could also swap out the title communication strategy, right? So what this means, the quick overview of this bucket is I tell people, think about your business as a series of touch points, right? Go back to like, how does somebody very first find you in the marketplace? It might be your marketing message, maybe an ad, maybe your website, like however they come across you. Think about the language that you're using, the points that you're making, like how you're educating that client, and then follow it through all the touch points that they might have with your business. Your ongoing marketing message, they sign up for your newsletter. Maybe at some point they do a live workshop with you, or then they're on an enrollment call. Like each one of these is an opportunity to educate our clients, potential clients, and help set proper client expectations. So often with disputes, what's really going on is we've had a mismatch between what we expected would happen and what's actually happening, right? And so we have constant opportunities in our business to reevaluate. Are we communicating the right way? Are we properly setting client expectations? Are we using our business policies and our legal documentation that supports the enrollment process in a helpful way, that is clear, that supports the client relationship, that calls out important policy issues or business policies that will actually improve the client experience because they know about them, and not surprise them later down the road and have that become a negative experience, right? So think about it through that framework. But then the second, which is a really important point, is as entrepreneurs, we have to get comfortable having difficult conversations, and we have to get better at having those conversations, whether it's with our support staff, our contractors, our employees, our clients or potential clients, our JV partners, our affiliates. Like we have major opportunities for things to go wrong, and not because people are bad or dumb. Things go wrong sometimes. We misremember, right? Anybody who's ever watched that, I saw it in a workshop I did, put on by the program on negotiation at Harvard, an advanced negotiations workshop where they show you the basketball team, and you have one job, which is to count how many times the basketball has been passed, right? So they come in and they're bounce passing and they're overhead passing, and you think like, this is easy. I can count the number of times the ball's passed. And at the end of the video, it's only like 30 seconds. They ask everybody in the room, how many times was the ball passed? Right. And you would think how many like variation in numbers, like maybe a couple percentage points, right? No, it was like 20. The difference was enormous. We all watched the exact same thing. And then they asked, and how many of you saw the gorilla that walked into the middle of the gym, and people were like, what? There was a gorilla. Like some people saw it, some people absolutely didn't. It was a demonstration on the fact that we see different things, we remember different things differently. Like it's such a powerful reminder of why, back to bucket number 2, business contracts and clarity is so important if we want our businesses to be a well-oiled machine. So the dispute resolution bucket, there's one book that I recommend. It's called Difficult Conversations. It's written by the people that put on the program on negotiation at Harvard. It's brilliant. I tell people it's easy to read, much harder to implement. but really worth implementing. It'll serve you in your personal life and your business life.
Yeah, I remember it was Richard Branson who said that your success level is inversely proportionate to the number of difficult conversations that you're willing to have.
Right.
Are you willing to have those conversations so you can get ahead? Yeah, for sure.
True story.
Got a question for you. What 3 books do you recommend the most that people need to be looking into? So Difficult Conversations is one of them.
Difficult Conversations is one. I mean, the list is long. You can look at my bookshelf back there, which is totally overloaded. It would depend by category, right? So I also read the 2 categories of books that I read, and this is it. Honestly, this is it. The only books I will ever read in my life: personal growth and development and business. That's it. So if you're looking for, like, my husband constantly teases me, read something fun. And I'm like, these are fun. I know he doesn't get it. But a couple of really transformational books, and this is more on the personal side of life, but it impacts us in our performance in our business life, right? There's and it's mostly just a reflection. Like, I lost my mom early to cancer. I lost my baby sister in a car accident, right? I've been through divorce and numerous miscarriages. Like, I've walked with a lot of grief in my life. And so this book is just like a beautiful little Bible. There's 2 of them, actually. They're both by James Hollis. One is called Swamplands of the Soul, and the other one is called The Midlife Passage. Beautiful, beautiful, supremely intelligent, dense books, but transformational.
And by James Hollis, you said?
James Hollis. Yeah.
And who wrote Difficult Conversations?
Difficult Conversations is by Sheila Heen, William Ury, Douglas Stone, and Bruce Patton. So and there might be one extra, but I don't think he participated in that particular book. They have a whole series. They also include Getting to Yes, Getting Past No. They are a team that the US government used to fly around the world and drop into, like, really intense international situations to help, de-escalate some pretty serious conversations. They literally have written the book on the most difficult conversations that you can have. And they're phenomenal. Yeah.
I love that. Okay. So let me see if I got this right. You got to have a business entity. Check. Got that one. I'm feeling good about myself so far. Business contracts. Got to have that. Check. Got that too. Business insurance. Sort of. Don't have that one all the way dialed in like I need to. So I'm like giving myself a C on that one. I got so far 2 A's and a C. IP protection plan. Sort of. I have some of it done, some of it not done. So I'm being fully transparent with the Groove community, saying, hey, man, I'm in the same boat as you guys are. Okay. Everybody's in this boat. We need to be taking care of this stuff. And dispute resolution strategy, I have studied a fair amount. So I'm actually pretty okay with that. So overall, I'm giving myself a B.
Good. That's a great score. And how I want for people to use this is just like that, like a checklist. What needs do I have? How has my business evolved this year? What else do I need to be looking at? Right. And like with the insurance, the quick overview is like business insurance. Yes. Figure out what your business needs. And then also make sure that you're properly addressing personal insurance, because that's the backup, right? That you've got homeowners insurance in place or renters insurance, that you have life insurance, that you have automobile insurance. And depending on your personal asset scenario, that you've got an umbrella policy in place to make sure that your assets are completely covered, right? So there's a variety of things, but
well, just thinking one thing though, that there's because I have a lot of that, unfortunately. But when I give myself a B, I have to ask myself this question: do I want my product experience to be a B? Do I want my clients to get a B from me in terms of value? The answer is no. I want people to have an A+ experience. I want to make sure that I'm giving A+ worth of value. So if I'm giving myself a B, then there's some work that needs to be done. So I'm not sure if anybody else is kind of following along with this, and I'm not sure what kind of grades you're giving yourself, Groovesters, but I think it's really worth paying attention. And fortunately for us, Heather Pearce Campbell has a little bit of a gift to get you started on this process. Tell us a little bit about that.
Totally. Well, I would invite you to hop over and check out my Legal Basics Bootcamp, right? And somewhere the button or the link is going to be below.
Right below.
And yep, that will take you to a little mini course that will walk you through essentially the framework that we have gone through. And you might be like, why would I want to do that again? Because people often need, you don't, absorb everything the first try, but it's a quick, accessible resource that anytime you need it, you can hop in and revisit that legal roadmap for your business and create your own checklist, walking through this stuff and figuring out, like Ridgely just did, how do you score yourself? Where do you need to spend a little time? You can see, at least I hope you feel, that it's not like an endless Pandora's box. Like, it's a pretty efficient little list, and there's very specific places you need to look. And, it's a known universe. I'll put it that way. It's not challenging to address these things. You just have to decide to do it and then just tackle them one at a time.
Yeah. So go get the Legal Basics Bootcamp right here. And guys, I'm in this boat with you. This is something we all need to be doing. I love that we have to have a rolling risk assessment. That means as you're working with Groove and your business gets to the next level, you got to reassess, and it gets to the next level and you got to reassess, and you get to the next level. And you're always doing that with your products. You're always doing that with your marketing. Of course, you need to protect your assets. So Heather, I just want to say, I know we've been friends for a while now, and I just love you to death. You're amazing. And the value for Groovesters is just huge. Do not ignore this incredibly important aspect of your business and taking care of your business. So any final words for the Groove community?
Thank you. I just so appreciate you. I'm so happy that we've been able to reconnect recently, and happy belated birthday that you just had. Super fun to be here and chatting with you. And I hope that even if people are just taking away one or two things that they can go work on, that they see, like, the best compliment I ever got from somebody was at the end of providing just one piece of this, you guys, just one piece. Said, how do you feel now? He looked at me and he's like, I feel like you just took off a 50-pound backpack I didn't know I was carrying around. And I thought, isn't that the irony? But it's totally where legal fits. It's like one of those things that hangs out for people, and they go, oh, I know I should do something about that. But they don't realize how amazing it actually feels to have it taken care of, buttoned up, done, off the list.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So you've heard it. I can't say it enough times. Hit the button. Go get the free Legal Basics Bootcamp. You might find there's some other stuff that you need as well. Take care of your fundamentals, protect your assets so that you can make a bigger difference in the world with your products and your services. Again, Heather, thank you so much. On behalf of the Groove community, deeply appreciate you, appreciate your wisdom and experience. And we are going to revisit this. So I'm going to do a rolling risk assessment on my own self.
I would love that.
Come back and talk about this again, if that's cool with you.
I would love it. So grateful for you, Ridgely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next time. Ciao for now.